Hi, welcome to the Coda podcast. I'm Ollie Flower.
I'm Roger Harris.
And so it's so nearly time. It's in September. It's starting to happen. Rog, tell us more about Coda.
Oh, Coda is on fire. The program is out. There's anything you could want. 2 days of pre-com workshops. Everything from the technical skills, like the airway workshops.
Neuro.
Yeah, there's Neuro. Is that still doing that?
People love Neuro.
As much as my
Nutrition.
TPN workshops? Nutrition. Awkward. Yeah, no, okay. No nutrition workshops, but all the technical stuff also around wellbeing, sustainability, everything you could want, paediatrics, and then the full program, the 2 days of the plenary sessions where we all come together. It's amazing. Online, jump on the website, codachange.org.
It's an incredible program.
Have a look at it. Yeah.
And can we sell tickets now?
Yeah.
People buy them?
Yeah. Sorry,
Yes.
Tickets are out there. Gosh, if you don't have a ticket, good luck.
They're going to go like hotcakes.
I hope
Get
you
in there
could
now.
get them. Yeah. They're like I don't know. They're going up
You're going to say like
faster
Taylor
than
Swift, don't you? I knew it. She loves Taylor so much.
Tay. Leave her alone. She's great. Anyway, we will see you in Melbourne. We are set for launch. Jump on the website, register a ticket.
See you in Melbourne.
Bye.
Boom.
Hi, I'm Laura Raiti and I'm a paediatric oncology fellow in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm part of the Coda team. Today, I'm joined by Fintan, an Irish doctor who started out in astrophysics before studying medicine in NUI, Galway. Currently an anaesthesiology resident at Duke University Medical Centre, Fintan leads an international research group modelling the impact of natural disasters on acute illness. Fintan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no worries.
I'd love to hear about your experience, and perhaps we'll kick off with what is the one thing about the climate crisis that really motivates you the most to make a change?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is we've known about this for so long. It's been going on for a long time. There's been a political process aimed at correcting this for the best part of 2-3 decades. But nothing is improving. The main thing for me is that the rate of energy gain of the planet has doubled since 2005, and emissions are still rising despite everything that we've been doing so far. So I think the main thing is that it's becoming clear that there's nobody really leading it. Things aren't getting any better, and there's sort of a pretty urgent need for people to come together in an organized way to start taking some pretty significant concerted action together.
Absolutely, and that's certainly motivating to help enact change. So tell us what exactly is your action, and what are you asking and calling people to do?
Sure. So throughout the whole process of actions, this was sort of one that we thought would work well towards the start as a bit of an education piece to focus people's minds a bit and get a bit of, come to grips with a little bit of what carbon emissions are, where they're coming from, how they fit into your own life. The way that we thought of starting that off was by taking a carbon footprint calculator. The aim of this not being just to calculate whatever your carbon footprint is and then feel guilty about it and not do a lot, but to use it as a way to identify what the areas are in your life where your habits, your spending, your daily choices, the food you eat, things like this, are contributing to polluting industries, where you're giving revenue to polluting industries, and use that as a mechanism or as a trigger to think to yourself, how can I stop funding the people who do not care about this and start using my money and making choices day to day in a way that promotes the decarbonization of our economy.
Great. So good to know we're not all going to just feel very guilty about our actions, but what does this involve and entail, and what are you asking people to do when considering this carbon calculator?
So there's an important thing to be aware of with the use of carbon calculators. The whole idea of a carbon footprint was devised by an advertising company that British Petroleum hired in 2005 to start shifting the blame away from the fact that it's oil companies that are responsible for this and shift the blame entirely onto individuals. It worked amazingly, and now everybody talks about carbon footprints. And what will be useful is if we essentially flip the script, start using the carbon footprint as a great way of tracking ourselves, what we're doing, and then using that to start coordinated action. So there's a link to a carbon footprint calculator on the Coda website, which is a useful tool where we can go and see across the different sectors of health, travel, energy, and just commercial purchases. What are the areas in which we are responsible for carbon emissions, or what are the areas in our life that are funding fossil fuel companies to continue doing what they're doing? And then use that as a Kickstarter to make reductions in your own life in terms of your emissions and in terms of making your spending more, your spending and your investments more renewable in their finance pathways. And then also to use that as a Kickstarter for coordinated action across healthcare workers as a whole. There's 60 million healthcare workers around the world, all people moving their money out of polluting industries and into renewable industries will have a pretty significant effect.
I love that, flipping the script and thinking about it around taking the driver away from fossil fuels and how you finance things. I really like the way you've encapsulated that. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to get involved with Coda and this action.
Yeah, sure. So I guess most significantly, I spent a year as a research fellow at University College London with Hugh Montgomery, who is now Hugh Montgomery OBE, who is one of the co-chairs of the Lancet Countdown. And we spent a lot of time thinking about if we were going to get people within healthcare to do just a very small number of actions to have a very significant impact, what would those be? And we brought together a team of incredible sort of economists, energy financiers, people in the energy industry, and then people across healthcare to try to think about how could we have the biggest impact for the things that we're doing. That was all part of work intended to lead into Coda, and now it's all sort of coming to a head that we're talking about actions. And then
keep going. What an exciting group of people, but please continue.
Yeah, and then it's come along to individual level education and engagement building as the purpose of a carbon footprint calculator, or a way of getting people to at least start by looking at their lives, because it's a great way of understanding where emissions come from, what's coming from you, what's coming from your lifestyle, the things that you're doing.
Something really tangible and relatable to lifestyles for everyone. All right, so how do you think the Coda community can be involved? We've obviously talked a little bit about the calculator, but tell us a bit more.
So one of the massive advantages and benefits that the Coda community has is obviously a bunch of very motivated, engaged people, but also has the whole power and of the FOMED community to be leveraged. So if the Coda community as a whole, however many tens of thousands, were to make their carbon footprint zero, that would have probably no impact on the world. But if the Coda community used their voice across Twitter and their hospitals, amongst their friends, co-workers, in academic circles, to say, these are the reductions we've made, and not so much, I drive half the distance that I used to or whatever, but I no longer spend money on oil, or I no longer spend money on petrol, gasoline. I don't buy meat that's flown half the way around the world from Argentina. I don't eat passion fruits in Ireland in December because it means that they've been shipped and they've been frozen. I have moved my superannuation fund or my pension, whatever you have, away from a company that will invest in directional drilling into the Antarctic. I no longer save my money with a bank that supports coal leases. Spread the word like that, and help others to do the same. So if you found things in your life that you didn't notice were giving money to fossil fuel companies, then make quite a lot of noise about that on Twitter and use the FOMED tags, use the Coda tags to let people know what's going on, and see how or share ways in which you've been able to redirect your life to be not propping up people who don't care about the destruction that's being caused.
And I think some of those things that you've just mentioned were really easily attainable adjustments to one's lifestyle. And I think raising that awareness is so important, and it's easier than perhaps people might think when they set out to. Thank you so much, Fintan. I think finally, what would be your advice to someone who hasn't yet started taking climate action just yet?
Yeah, I think there's two groups of people who don't take climate action. There's the people who don't care, and that's fine. They will continue to not care. More significant, I think, and the people that we're really speaking to are the people who obviously do care, but feel quite rightly overwhelmed because it's an enormous problem, and it seems more and more enormous the more we talk about it. The reality is that as a single person, whatever you do to reduce your own carbon footprint, which is this whole like oil company fallacy, it's not going to make a difference. But the reality is that there are 60 million healthcare workers worldwide. Healthcare as an industry accounts for 10% of gross domestic product in terms of the global economy, which is 3 times larger than the fossil fuel industry. So if you can be a part of reducing your own footprint or learning about where your spending is fueling emissions, educate a few other people around you about that, and then see how that could work up throughout healthcare. If the entire healthcare industry were to start thinking like this, that is probably the biggest potential signal that we could send to investment markets around the world, that this whole industry is moving out of fossil fuels and into renewables, away from polluting industries, into low carbon technology. If 10% of the world's economy flipped like that within the space of a few months or a few years, that's probably enough to shift the needle and collapse the fossil fuel and other polluting industries. So that, I guess, would be the motivation to start doing small things to educate yourself about the ways in which, at a small level, if multiplied, you can be part of a much larger solution that could theoretically actually work this time.
A very powerful, amazing collective voice we would all have in the healthcare industry. Thank you so much, Fintan, for taking the time to explain that and help empower many and others to get involved. I'd like everyone to please look at the codachange.org website to find out more about what we've been discussing today, but also how to get involved and take part in the action agenda. Thank you so much, Fintan.
Thanks.